Hello everybody, my name is Hallimar, and today we're going to be talking about Snowpiercer again, and more specifically, why Melanie Cavill might have a strong disdain for Mr. Wilford. However, I'm going to say this right now, this video is mostly conjecture, so to speak. I don't necessarily have much evidence for the theory that I'm about to overarchingly propose. I'm going to still talk about other ideas in this, but a lot of it's going to be centered around a bit of a theory that's been floating around that I made not by myself, I'm just going to keep saying that I made independently, but that Wilford is the father of Alexandra. That's going to be a big theme in this video, and I'm just going to say that now, because you might not like that, I guess. And also, the evidence it's not a landslide, I'm just going to say that. But if you're open to the idea, I might be able to get your mind going, you might be able to go look into it yourself. That's really what I'm trying to do here, is to say, hey, this is an idea, maybe you got a better one than I do. Although the second season really can't come soon enough, I really wanted to present this idea before the second season came out, because as soon as it comes out, there's really not enough time for this video to get viewed by enough people for it to be relevant and all, and also the theory could easily become obsolete by the time the second season starts debuting, because they could confirm or deny it. So I really wanted to put this out as soon as possible. It all began in an episode in which title or number I cannot remember. It was sometime in the middle of the show. It was when Miles actually got recruited to become an engineer for Mr. Wilford, quote unquote. And it all came about when she gave him a tool called a calvert. I looked this up on Google, and a calvert, I couldn't find a tool called a calvert. But maybe it's Calbert, but I couldn't find anything for that either. But whatever it is, it's a certain tool that engineers use. Maybe it's just a wrench, I don't know. But anyway, when she gave that to him, she said that Mr. Wilford gave it to her, and that she wanted him to have it. It seemed rather odd, out of place, because there's only two attitudes Melanie has generally over the course of the entire show. Either that Mr. Wilford is just this evil guy who would have wound up driving us all to extinction, or this great guy who wound up saving us all. And of course, the hatred one is her actual opinion, while the savior complex is for all the people to keep them happy on the train. But in this certain scenario, she was sentimental in a certain way when she gave him the calvert, if that is a real tool after all. It just seemed out of place for her to act like that. There's no necessary reason for her to act like that. And it just really seemed out of place to me. And that initially drew me to the conclusion that maybe Mr. Wilford was her father. And don't judge me on that, because that was a very early theory of mine. But it was just, there was something more sentimental about her giving that tool to him. It was something that I hadn't seen before. And all in all, even if Wilford did give her something like that, it doesn't really make much sense if their relationship was strictly professional. Because, like Melanie said, calverts are something that every engineer needs. So if she was hired as a contractor to build the Dreamliner and refit the Dreamliner as Snowpiercer, she would have already had something like that. I mean, either way, she would have had something like that. But it doesn't make sense for your employer to give you something that you already have, and, it's obvious that you have it. Of course, she could be lying about the fact that Wilford gave her the calvert. It could just be hers all the way, and she gave it to Miles just to add a bit more value to it, but that is possible, but there's no real motive that could cause it to make sense to explain it at all. And still possible, not denying that, but it doesn't make much sense to me. But everything would change when Alexandra was revealed to be alive. It wasn't really much to theorize about, but it made me ask the question, why? Why would Wilford save this girl? Why would Wilford, a supposedly ruthless man built on instant gratification, save Alexandra from the freeze? Why would he waste extra resources to sustain an ever-expensive teenager, which, mind you, teenagers consume more energy than adults do, and when an adult would, like I said, more efficiently fill her place? Perhaps he did use it in hopes of using it against Melanie, but that wouldn't work with the image that Melanie has painted for him. Melanie states that Snowpiercer wouldn't even have lasted due to him wanting to live as good as he could as long as he could. And that's the fundamental reason why she tried to murder him, but that just doesn't work. If Wilford was truly like that, Snowpiercer would have never ran into Big Alice while the train was moving. And certainly, Alexandra wouldn't have been saved, because that's a long time to keep a teenager alive. And I just don't see that really. It just doesn't equate. If he's that much of an instant gratifier, there's no reason why you would try and sustain a teenage girl like that for so long and just do it for some kind of psychological effect, I guess, without having some other more complex motive. And of course, he could have done it out of spite. There's no reason to think that he couldn't have. Well, there's not really a grand ending reason why he couldn't have. And sure, he could have sustained Big Alice for years in hopes of getting back to his Dreamliner, but I just find it hard to believe that Melanie's picture of Wilford would keep her daughter alive out of spite and risk wasting resources that the instant gratifier could have just used himself. In the end, from a mathematical, logical standpoint, there's no reason for Alex to still be alive at all. Alexandra, by all accounts, should be dead, unless there was some kind of emotional connection between the two of them. And I think there is. I think Cavill and Wilford used to be together, and that they had a child. However, something bad happened. I think that it would have been when Alex was much younger, although I don't have proof for this. It's more of a hunch, in my honest opinion, but I just feel like it would have happened when she was younger. What could have happened between Melanie and Wilford in detail is beyond me, but from what the show tells, it was personal. This is proven in the season finale when Bennett and Melanie presumably split up because Bennett acted in favor of Wilford. Not even out of personal favor, but because Big Alice could have had resources that Snowpiercer needed, and he took it upon himself to make a unilateral move to try and sabotage Melanie's plans to try and outrun Big Alice. And what she says in that situation really just proves that her disdain for Wilford is emotionally grounded, and it's personal. It's not professional. It's most likely not that Wilford stole anything from her, that he took credit for it, which is still possible. He could have done that. But it's all proven when she says this: "I won't put my faith in Wilford again." End quote. She says that. Notice how the story quickly changes. Bennett is one of Melanie's most trusted friends. They're partners, or at least they used to be. And she doesn't revert to the fraud argument like she does with her best friend Ruth. Instead, she reverts to faith, to personal argument. Clearly, her nerves are touched by this, and Melanie does not hate him, at least not exclusively because he stole credit for the Dreamliner, but maybe because he betrayed her trust on a personal level rather than a professional one. I don't know what Wilford could have done to betray her, but I do think I know what happened soon after Wilford and Melanie presumably split. I think Wilford was either removed or voluntarily left the household. And I think that Wilford was incredibly hurt and broken after what happened, so much that his millenary complex didn't kick in. I assume he's rich because he's a CEO of a train company, so he's obviously going to be rich. And rather than go to another property or somewhere with a bit higher class, he went to a motel. And instead of any motel, he went to the motel that Ruth Wardell worked at just before meeting the man for the first time. And I think that Wilford took a certain interest in Ruth. Perhaps it was out of emotional trauma that he wanted someone to confide in, because I don't think it's exactly normal behavior to just go around and start hiring people on the spot for a job and start telling them about a train that you've built. And although there's no proof that there was an extended relationship between the two of them, but there is a slight possibility of it, because it'll explain why Ruth has an elevated belief in Wilford more than anyone else on Snowpiercer, which says a lot because Wilford does have a god complex after all. And these pictures, these little leaks, I guess you can call them, really, one of them specifically says it all. The others look like just typical antics a villain would put a protagonist through, but this one right here is interesting. Let's just take a moment to study these two faces. Melanie in this situation looks quite detached, almost disgusted by Wilford, by being in his presence, and like she has no regret for something that she did at all. Wilford, on the other hand, doesn't look angry at her at all. He does appear to have some aggression on his face, but his posture doesn't indicate an aggressive stance. and his face is almost sad, if anything else. I'm certainly not going to point any fingers in the situation, and I'm not going to call either of them a hero or a villain like I did in my last Snowpiercer video, because relationships are just way too complicated to start pointing fingers like that. However, I will say what I see. What I see, I may be blind, so you can point that out if you'd like, but what I see is that Wilford is a sad, if not broken man that chose to save Alexandra because of some kind of emotional attachment. Maybe because there's a father-daughter relationship right there, or maybe not. But based on this image, I think that Alexandra is detached from her mother because, like Melanie says, Melanie was never there as a mother because of her work, because of the works on the Dreamliner, or presumably the Dreamliner, and blatantly stated Snowpiercer. But drilling the love for someone's mother out of them is not an easy task. You don't simply just train a child to start hating your mother for no reason. There has to be an underlying disdain, shall we say, an underlying weakness in a relationship, and a certain suggestiveness to the convincer, in this case Wilford, that he has some kind of power of suggestion over Alexandra that may equate to maybe an abusive relationship on the train, or the fact that she knows Wilford is her father. And I think that Melanie hates him because of something that Wilford did, something that maybe Wilford betrayed her trust on something. Perhaps he did take credit for Snowpiercer when it belonged to Melanie in the end. All in all, I think that the true conflict of the second season will be revolving around Wilford's, Melanie's, and Alexandra's relationship. But what do you think? Did I convince you? Did I at least get your mind going? Did I get the gears turning? Maybe you could add something. Maybe you could break this idea altogether, crush it down like Wilford supposedly will for the system of democracy on Snowpiercer. Did I say anything that could be true, or do you think I'm just reading a bit too far into things? Whether you have something supportive or critical to add, comment it down below, and be sure to subscribe for more Snowpiercer content like the last one. I will be sure to do a follow-up video and to openly confess whether I was wrong or that there may be some ground in what I'm saying. If you want to be notified when the follow-up video comes out, make sure you hit the bell icon. You don't have to worry about all the stupid gaming videos. I won't be releasing those anymore, so you don't have to worry about your feed being filled up with stuff that you don't want to see compared to this one gem, this one great video that you're watching right now. And I hope you'll be able to find out whether I'm right, wrong, or a little bit of both the moment. Not much of an after show today. I just got done recording 2 videos, and it was rather exhausting. And man, speaking for long periods of time really dries out the mouth when you're just reading or just skimming over a script and just talking to yourself in an empty room. But anyway, I really do hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you look forward to the Mandalorian episode I'm putting out about my little review, I guess, of the season finale of the second season for Mandalorian. And I can't wait for the second season of Snowpiercer to come out. It's, what day is it? It is currently, man, I'm really wasting time right now. Well, not really, because this is the after show. I'm not supposed to cut things out. The date is December 29th, so yeah, less than a month away. So there's still plenty of time. I wanted to put this video out as soon as possible because stuff on Season 2, or conjecture about Season 2, will probably be a lot more constrained once the second season come out, and this is a pretty far-out idea, which might not be true at all. So I wanted to put it out while I still had the chance to. So, if you got any more ideas, you can put them down in the comments. I pretty much read them all at this point in time, although if I somehow get a lot more comments than I usually do, then that might not be the case anymore. But given the rate that I usually get them at, I usually respond to all of them, if I can understand them, of course. Spelling's not really an issue, it's usually grammar that's an issue for some of the comments that I read. And I just can't understand them at all. But anyway, I hope you have a nice day. I'm gonna probably stop right now. I might edit this video later today, but I might not do it today, who knows. Because, like I said, I've got 2 videos done today, and I feel like that's a lot of work that I just got done doing. Because I polished up the scripts, and then I started recording them. I did the Mandalorian one first before this one. This is probably going to be my longest one yet, Not by much, though. I doubt this will exceed 20 minutes, but still, quite long. But, you know, you gotta take that time to present ideas. And not really much left to say, so... I mean, the worst thing that can happen now is that the wrong mic was being used. I mean, that's really the biggest issue right now, and I am suddenly getting a large pain in my stomach and a big fear that that may or may not have happened, but who knows? Hopefully not, but who knows? See ya. Oh, thank goodness. This is part 2 of the after show, I guess. I just paused the recording segment and then I went back and listened to the first few seconds of it, and thank goodness I was using my good mic. That's good, because either I could have been using my headphone mic, which unfortunately there really isn't a headphone mic, or I was using my computer mic, which is a big issue. It's terrible. I mean, what do you expect from a laptop? But thank goodness I was using my real mic the entire time. It's not the problem with the default settings. Actually, this is the problem with the default settings because I reset my computer recently to try and fix a few issues. And I reset the settings, and I was almost afraid that I was using the wrong microphone. But anyway, this is actually the part where I say, see you around. I hope you enjoy.